College wasn't supposed to be like this. I'd been planning out my college years in my head since I'd been a little girl. It could still be forced into dresses. I thought of everything. I thought of how I was going to have my dorm room. I thought about how I was going to dress, and I thought about the grades that I was sure that I was going to get. So how did it all go so wrong? What did I do to mess up all my plans? I knew deep down what had caused me to stray away from my perfect path. I knew deep down that it was the constant thoughts of Rob and now James that were circling around in my mind like hungry sharks waiting to make a kill. How could the situation not affect me? I'd been officially asked out by two amazing guys, and now they were expecting me to choose between them. How do you pick one perfect kind of perfection over another? How do you know that you've made the right choice? How do you know that the person you're turning down isn't actually the one and that you haven't made a big mistake? I couldn't be sure about any of it. My mind kept skipping between the two men in my life. I kept thinking that perhaps I'd made a decision, but then I'd wake up the next day and realize 100 different reasons as to why I'd be so wrong about the certainty I'd felt. I knew that my time was running out, too. I hadn't spoken to James or Rob in over a week, but I had a feeling that neither of them would wait much longer for an answer. I could feel the seconds melting away, as though time had sped up, so that I couldn't take even a moment away from my thoughts to breathe. I had to do something. I had to work out a way that would prove to me, one way or another, that I was making the right choice. I scrolled through my phone until I reached James's number, and then I hit the dial button and waited for us to be connected.
Sarah?
James said, as though he couldn't quite believe it was really me ringing him. Hey, sorry it's been a while, I said quickly. I was just wondering whether you want to go grab a drink or something.
Sure.
He sounded happy over the reason I'd call.
That sounds great. When?
Well, I'm free whenever, so pick a date, I said, and then I instantly regretted choosing the word date to use.
You want to go out tonight?
Sure, pick me up at 7.
Sounds good. I'll see you then.
James said, and then he hung up the phone before I had a chance to say anything else. I looked down at my phone. The screen was still brightly lit, and it had switched into the list of calls. I looked at the top name and wondered whether I called the right person. I knew, though, that I couldn't hide forever. I knew that if I were to make a choice, then I would need to spend some proper time with both of them. I walked over to my small wardrobe that was overflowing with clothes and tried to pick something out, but nothing seemed right for going out for a drink with James. Everything seemed too casual or too flashy. There was no in-between, it seemed. I lost an hour rummaging through my wardrobe as I tried to work out what I should wear before I finally settled for a vest top and skinny jeans. It was nothing special, but I didn't want to dress up because I didn't want James to think this was something more than it was. I could feel my nerves building as 7 approached, and I had to do everything I could to stop myself from calling him back and canceling. The thought had crossed my mind several times over the past week that it might be so much simpler to just say no to both of them and focus on my studies. That option was the only one that actually made any sense to me, but whenever I found myself choosing it, I would feel a tug at my heart, which I couldn't ignore. The ridiculous thing was that I knew which of them I loved. I knew that I was in love with Rob. I could feel it in the flutter of my heartbeats whenever I thought about him. But for some reason, love didn't seem like enough. It was like my heart and my brain were fighting against each other because my brain was telling me that James was the right one for me. I think it was because he seemed like the safer option, like somehow he possessed less of a threat of hurting me. It was safety I felt around him and not love. The door played through a loud knock dead on 7, and I felt my palms grow damp with sweat as I opened the door.